So, Namaste to one in the Department of Samhita Siddhanta, Government Ayurvedic Medical College, Mysore. Today I am going to present you on understanding the concept of Nyaya. So before entering into the topic, today I would like to begin my class with the verse of Charaka Vimanasthana, 3rd chapter, 25th shloka, where Acharya says, Yuge yuge dharmapadaha kramena anena hiyate, gunapadascha bhutanam evam lokaha prahiyate. So what does it mean? As yuga is going to decline year by year, it is the dharma as it goes on declining, the yuga is going to decline and this is going to have an effect on the lifespan of a person. So this is what at present scenario we are facing. From the Gurukul teaching, we came into a classroom teaching, and now because of this COVID-19, we have reached into this online teaching where we are using so many apps to make each and every student understand the different concepts of Ayurveda. So this one simple example says that how far intellectual knowledge our acharyas had towards the life, towards the nature, towards the philosophy, and moreover towards the medicine. That's why Ayurveda is called as a philosophical medical science, and it is being accepted and it is having a basic fundamentals which are accepted all three colors. So with this short introduction of our fraternity, let's begin today's topic, that is understanding the concept of Nyaya. So as this Tadvidya Sambhasha Parishad is for the students of the Ayurveda fraternity, so whatever the discussions are being done here, it is related to for the useful of the students for their syllabus wise. So this syllabus is for the post-graduation students, and even it is not a problem if undergraduate students also understand this concept of Nyaya. Why? Because these Nyayas come under the concept of understanding our Samhitas. How our Samhitas are written, what does our Samhita mean, what does the shloka mean, what does the commentary mean, how to understand these verses. All these concepts come under the concept of Nyaya. So this is one topic which we are going to study today. So before entering into the Nyaya, let us know what is a language. So we have a Sanskrit language and we have at present we are using the English language. So what our Samhitas were written, it was the Sanskrit language. It is actually the Devanagari style of writing. We redacted it into Sanskrit language and we study our Sanskrit textbooks. So Sanskrit is what? It is a language which is being used as one of the subject also nowadays, and sometimes who have not studied, when you are studying with or when you have taken the course of Ayurveda, we consider this Sanskrit language as one of the main basic language. So what is this Sanskrit? It was an Indo-Aryan or it is an Indic language of the ancient Indian subcontinent. And the history, if you look back, it has a very long history of 3,500 years of history. So this Sanskrit encompasses, the literature encompasses a rich tradition of philosophy, religious text. It is also included in poets, it is also included in music, drama, scientific, technical and other texts. And this in Sanskrit language we have in origin in two forms. One we call it as a Vedic Sanskrit and the other is the classical Sanskrit. So Vedic Sanskrit was its origin from the Rig Veda or through the phonics. So wherever the Rig Veda, which was in the phonic system of method of telling of the Rig Veda, what that was called as the Vedic Sanskrit. And when you come with the classical Sanskrit, what all you people study in your first year BMS, that is your Panini's Ashtadhyaya work, what we call, that is your classical Sanskrit. So this is our language, the Ayurveda language, what we study. So why we need to know about this language, because we are not well versed with this language. We are well versed with our mother tongue, we are well versed with our mode of instruction and writing, that is our English language. But we have completely neglected the basic language to study Ayurveda, that is the Sanskrit language. So Sanskrit language should and must be compulsory to understand the text of our ancient acharyas. So when we go for the modern perspective of study, we go in terms of the English. Whatever their mode of study is, they go in the form of English language. So if you see it is a West Germanic language, and when you look into the history of its development, it was developed more than 1400 years ago. So just look back into the Sanskrit language and look into English language. So this has a very past history and origin, whereas English is of a recent origin. And this was developed into the Old English, early modern English, and the modern English. So what is the 17th century English? What we study is the modern English. So this why I have introduced here, because when you are studying the concept of Nyaya, these Nyayas are being told, or these Nyayas are being written, or they are being included in the Samhitas. So what are these Samhitas? So these Samhitas, what you study, are having the language of Sanskrit. So when you want to elaborate it, when you want to understand it, you should know what is that language which is being used in our particular Samhita. So this is the way, that is why the Sanskrit, as well as you should know the English languages. Why? Because Sanskrit you are going to study, you are going to interpret, and you are going to write in English language. So this is what the phases where we are using the each and every language. And in olden days, or in previous years, around the 1980s and all, even the Sanskrit language was translated into Kannada, and the mode of instruction or writing of instruction was also in Kannada. And now in India, we see in many states also, the writing, they write in their mother tongue. But in Karnataka, it is strictly with the English language. So we should know what is the origin of this language, how old our language is, and what we are using nowadays, what is the importance of that language. So this is the basics of language. And when we go into the study, how our Ayurvedic study is there, then we always have a competition. We always compare our medicine with the allopathy system of medicine. See, there is no need of comparing these medicines. What is need is interpreting our medicine and applying. That is much needed than comparing with the alternative medicine and going back with the alternative medicine. So here, what is our perspective of study? Acharya had a clear-cut indication where they said how you have to go for a study. So they have stored in the form of Shastra Lakshana and Trivida Jnanopaya. So this is reference you get from Charaka Vimanasthana 8th chapter. And during the Samhita Adhyayana classes, I would like to request all those people who are listening, or the students who are listening, to keep Charaka Samhita with you, so that you can get the Samhita very easily where these references are. Just listening is not important. Understanding it and knowing it in the textbook is very, very important. So when we go with this concept of Charaka Vimanasthana, a very important chapter where he says about the Shastra Lakshana and Trivida Jnanopaya. When he starts the chapter, he directly starts with the Shastra Lakshana. What is Shastra Lakshana? Lakshana here he says, what are the features of a textbook? For example, many of you are having your famous writers. So some of you may like Chetan Bhagat, some of you may like S.L. Bhairappa, some of you may like Girish Karnad. So this is how, if you ask your your parents and all, they tell about the authors of their time. So why you like their text only, or why you like to read their novels only, why you like to read their books only. So this is because it is having certain features which is going to attract you. So that Lakshana, what a feature or what a text should have, that is being told by our Acharyas, that they called it in the form of Shastra Lakshana. So what is the Shastra Lakshana? He explains in Vimanasthana 8th chapter how the Shastra should be, what a text should comprise. When you are going to tell that the text is complete, so when it have all the Lakshanas which is being mentioned by our Acharya, so he says, Vividhani hi shastrani vishajam pracharanti loke. So there are varieties of text. Pracharanti loke. There are many varieties of text of shastras which a vishaj can use. That is what we call it as what a doctor can use, or you can refer. So now also you may have many referral books where you are going to see. For example, in Samhitas only, you go for many translation textbooks. Some of you like Hindi translation, some of you may like English translation. So all this he considers it as Vividaha Pracharanti Loke. Tatra yan manyet. But what is that which you have to select whenever you are reading a text? He says it is Sumarutya Yashasvi Dhira Purusha Sevita Artha Bahula Aptajana Pujita Trivida Shishya Buddhi Hita, means it should be understood by all the category of the students, the intellectual, the middle and the low intellectual students. Then he says, Artha Bahula, it should give you a lot of meaning when you read that text. Apta Jana Pujita means it should be praised by many aptas. Aptas in the sense your friends, your teachers. You ask your teachers, isn't it? When you come to your first profession, you ask your teachers, Madam, Sir, which text I should like to take in Kriya, which text I could like to take in Padartha Vijnana. So this is what you are going to ask. And when they tell you prefer this text, you are going to search that text only. Why? Because they are your apta. You believe them. So you ask them, and whatever they tell, that text you are going to refer. Apta Jana Pujita. Then he says, Trivida Shishya Buddhihita Apagata Punarukta Dosha Arsha Supranita Sutra Bhasha Sangraha Kramam. So means it should be written in an order. So all this he considers it as a Shastra Lakshana. In an order, in the sense, after studying the cell, the tissue, then only you come for your organ, then you come for the system. First you don't write the system and then you come for the organ, and last you don't study the cell. So this is what your biology pattern. Similarly, your chemistry also had the same pattern. Even Ayurveda also has the same pattern. When you look into our text, the Bruhatrayi or Laghutrayi, each acharyas have their own specific pattern or style of writing, and they have arranged in a consequence, in a sequence they have arranged. They have not arranged haphazardly. So this what it gives you a link, the before and the next chapter, or the before and the next sthana. And if you read the shlokas or the verses, each the before shloka is having a link with the present and to the next. So this is how the Shastras have been written, and this is what we call it as a Shastra Lakshana. This is how you are going to select your text. So if you go for your selection of your profession, after completion of your PUC2, you go for your selection of your profession, whether you want to go for a medical, engineering, or any other else course. If you want to go for a medical, again you are going to select, that is whether I'll go for a modern, Ayurveda, homeopathy, or I'll go for a dental. So this is what the selection what you are going to have. You have a broad way of selection. Similarly, Acharyas also gave, when you are going for a Shastra, when you are going to study, when you want to study, when you are going for a Adhyayana, then he says all the Shastra Lakshana should be known to you. Only after analyzing these Shastra Lakshana, start your study. This is what our Acharyas have told. So this is Shastra Lakshana. And when we go for Trivida Jnanopaya, it is also in the same chapter, the continuous verse of a Shastra Lakshana. After Shastra Lakshana, actually he says about selection of a teacher. So in the olden days, that practice was there. You are going to select your teacher. This method has come in our Ayurvedic fraternity also, called as the RAV. So Rashtriya Ayurveda Vidyapith, where this is how the Shastra you are going to select, the subject you are going to select, then you are going to select your teacher. And then what is your next step? You have to start studying. That study he calls it as a Trivida Jnanopaya. That is, he is going with Adhyayana, Adhyapana, and your Tadvidya Sambhasha. First you are going to study yourself, the teacher is going to select you, and then Tadvidya Sambhasha. When you get to the knowledge, you are going to have the discussions. Tadvidya, we are going to share your knowledge. So that is called as a Tadvidya. How you are going to share your knowledge? Through the Sambhasha. So this is what the Ayurvedic perspective of study we are having. So this is the entry into the topic. If you go for the modern, now you got your Adhyayana, Adhyapana, and Tadvidya Sambhasha you are doing, then how you are going to study this? So you went for your study, the teacher is teaching you, and you got the knowledge, and you are going for a Sambhasha. So that's why in Charaka Sutra 30th chapter, he mentions beautifully in the what is the use of Ayurveda and all. He says, what are the Lakshana? The 30th chapter is very, very important in Charaka Sutra. So he asks many questions in the starting. What are the aim of Ayurveda? What is Ayurveda? What is its Anga? What is its Prayojana? What is its Artha? Etc. So there in the last Charaka Sutra 30th chapter, in the 30th shloka, he says a well-known Vaidya or a learned Vaidya or who has studied the Shastra will always be confident in his studying. So whenever you are facing any difficulties in your study, when you are facing any difficulty with a person who has not studied but boasts himself that I have studied Ayurveda or I know about Ayurveda, he gives you certain logics where you can put him into 8 questions where you can ask him whether you know all these. So that what he calls it as atha vishagadita eva vishaja prashtavyo ashtavidam bhavati. So if they tell anything about Ayurvedic treatment or Ayurvedic diagnosis, then you can clearly ask them, oh, so you have studied Ayurveda, then let me ask you a few questions on Ayurveda. What are those few questions? Ashtavidam bhavati. Do you know Tantra? Do you know Tantrartha? Do you know Sthanam, Sthanartham, Adhyayam, Adhyayartham, Prashnam, Prashnarthaschaiti, Prushtena. So this you have to ask. If you ask them, oh yes, do you know Ayurveda? Then can you tell me what is Ayurveda Tantra? Can you define what is Ayurveda Tantra? Can you tell how many sthanas are there in it? Can you tell what is the sthana artha? So this is how you are going to defend the opponent person. So all these margas have been told in your Tadvitya Sambhasha. So how you are going to study, how you are going to come to this extreme level that you are going for one particular Sambhasha with the person. It may be a person or it may be another Bishak. So those are called as the tools for study. So in Samhita, there are certain tools through which you are going to understand or you are going to analyze the concepts. So those tools are the Tantra Yukti, the Sachilyas, the Arthashraya, the Kalpanas, and comes the Nyayas. And again, if you go, these all are nothing but they all come under one nutshell, that is your Pramana. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Aptopadesha, and Yukti and Upamana. So all these come under again in one heading, that is your Pramana itself. So the next, the beside picture is nothing but whenever you are going to study a mathematics or it may be a science or it may be a chemistry, you have certain tools to study it. To study maths, you need a compass box, you need a calculator, you need the what you call the scales, the pencils, the pens. These are what your tools for study. In the same way, whenever we open Samhita, these are our tools. We have Tantra Yukti to understand. You can apply anything. All are having their equal importance at certain places and all together give the same meaning. So here you can use Tantra Yukti, you can use the Tachilyas, you can use the Arthashrayas, you can use the Kalpanas, or even the Nyayas can also be used to better understand our Samhitas. So I don't think we need the explanation of Tantra Yukti, Tachilya, Arthashraya, Kalpanas because today's our topic is on Nyaya itself. But Tantra Yukti is nothing but it is a teaching method or it is not what we call it as a method of scientific interpretation, the Tantra Yuktis. So here it comes all the techniques which we adopt to interpret our Samhitas. The Tachilya is nothing but to know or to understand the style of writing of our Acharyas, how our Acharyas have written the text. A simple example what I can quote here is, when you look into the Brihatrayis, the first chapter of all the Brihatrayis, the first chapter of Charaka Samhita is called as Dirghanjivati Adhyaya, the first chapter of Sushruta Samhita is called as Vedotpatti Adhyaya, and the first chapter of Ashtanga Hridaya is called as Ayushkami Adhyaya. See, this is their style of writing. So Charaka says Dirghanjivati Adhyaya, but when you look into the Adhyaya, we don't get any such words or any such phrases which will tell you that follow these measures or follow these ahara vihara, you are going to attain a long life. Vedotpatti Adhyaya, he is not telling how you are going to attain a long life. He is just giving a curiosity to tell how this Utpatti of Veda has been become. Veda here it refers to the Ayurveda. Then if you go for Ashtanga Hridaya, he says Ayushkamiya, means whoever desires for a long life, read this Adhyaya, you are going to get a long life. So here it is not that when you open into it, is not explaining follow this Dinacharya, follow this Rutucharya, follow this Ahara Vihara, you are going to live for 100 years. There is nothing mentioned like that. He has just given the title here saying it is called as the style of his writing. That is his style, that is Tachilya. So inside he is giving you the basics of understanding about yourself, understanding about the Sharira, understanding about the Dravya, understanding about how to implement all this or how to study Ayurveda. So this is how there is a difference in all these three chapters. Then Arthashrayas. Arthashrayas means there are special considerations. He has given special considerations at certain areas which when you start reading the Samhita, you will get the highlight. Then he says the kalpanas, and then he says about the nyayas. So we'll go with these tools, whether they are needed. So whether you need this. So you cannot draw a circle without this protractor, or what you call it as a compass. This tool is needed. If you want to draw a straight line, you need a scale. Without this tool, you cannot draw the straight line, or it may be a circle. Question arises whether all this Tantra we should study, whether we should study Tachilya, whether we should study Arthashrayas and Kalpanas. Yes, all these are needed. Why? Because he says Kalpanas are the special considerations, not the Arthashrayas. So here he says, yes, these tools are needed. Why they are needed? For better understanding of the verses. Means when you want to understand any of the shloka or the sutra, if you are not understanding, using these tools, you can implement, you can understand, to extract the hidden meaning. Some verses are having a different hidden meaning. So to extract that hidden meaning, you can use any of these tools. And what you will get when you understand and when you interpret and when you extract the hidden meaning of that particular verse, you are going to get a broader sense of understanding, or you are going to get a broader knowledge, or you are going to open up with a great knowledge. So that's why these tools are much needed. So that is the meaning here. For example, he says that whenever you want to understand any verses or shlokas, sometimes English translation or Hindi translation, you'll come to a limited area where you are unable to take exactly the meaning. So at that time, if you use these Tantra Tachilyas and all, you are going to increase your knowledge. So this is what he is telling here. Okay, so the next we go with the term Nyaya. How these Nyayas, or what do you mean by this Nyaya? So this Nyaya, it is used in different Sanskrit literature under different headings called as method, manner, analogy, illustration. It may be a law also, maximum, proverbial saying, etc. Why? Because based on Nyaya, if we say Nyaya, everybody will go into the Nyaya Darshana. Yes, Nyaya Darshana, the word is used as Nyaya because they have given certain logical thinking. So Nyaya philosophy is nothing but where the logical ideas or logical thinking are being explained. So that's why it is being termed as the Nyaya. And here we have some references where V.S. Apte, he mentions about 13 different connotations or the 13 different names for the term Nyaya. And these maxims are the inferences from familiar utterances. So there is a difference between Nyaya Darshana and the word Nyaya. Nyaya is nothing but the familiar utterances. Utterances in the sense, here you can say that what we call in Kannada as a Gade Matu, we say. So it is also called in English, it is being translated or it is being interpreted as maxim. So what is a maxim here? When we look or when we search into the internet, the maxim we get a beautiful enriched or as a maxims. So these are the pictures what we get. Another meaning of maxim is what you see in the next picture. So and maximum is nothing but it is a concise expression of a fundamental rule or a principle. It is telling you it gives you a concise expression of something fundamental principle. So it is any simple and memorable rule or a guide for living. So those are called as a maxims. For example, actions speak louder than words. This is a maxim. Pen is mightier than sword. This is a maxim. You are never too old to learn. This is also a maxim. Means this is actions speak louder than words. It is giving you an expression of something which is bigger in sense. So that is called as a maxim. So this is what the definition of maxim, what he says. Similarly is the term Nyaya. So that is which is going to give you a wider knowledge. It is going to give you a better standing of the verse, and it is going to extract the hidden meaning of the verses. So that is called the term Nyaya. Next comes, we'll move now into the subject of Nyaya. What you have to understand in the concept of Nyaya. You have to know the derivation, the definition, the synonyms, the types, numbers, and the names. So what is derivation? It is derived from the ni upasarga dhatu, ni upasarga in dhatu, and ghai pratyaya. From this word, the word Nyaya is being derived. And what is the definition? How you are going to define a Nyaya? In general, it is being defined as expression of general truth or principle. So this is what he is going to define the Nyaya. So here you have some of the shlokas or the interpretations from the Shabdakalpatruma and the Vachaspatya. Yukti Mulaka Drishtanta Vishesha Nyayaha. Yukti Mulaka Drishtanta Vishesha Nyayaha means you are going to understand through the Yukti through some examples. Drishtanta, by giving some examples, using your Yukti, you are going to understand the special feature of that particular thing. That is called as a Nyaya. Niyate prapyate vivikshitartha siddhi anena iti Nyayaha. So he says that Niyate prapyate, which will make you vivikshitartha siddhi. Vivikshitartha siddhi means you are going to understand, which will make you to understand what actually the author want to tell us. What actually is the view of the author. Anena iti Nyayaha. That is also called as a Nyaya. The third he says, Pramana anugrahaka starko Nyaya Nishchita miyate nirniyate anena iti Nyayaha. So he says that the Nyayas are one which are understood through the Pramana Anugraha Tarka. Through the Pramana and the Tarka, you are going to understand these Nyayas. Through that, you are going to understand the hidden meaning of the particular verses. Means there are certain verses which we are unable to understand it. And the beauty of our Samhitas is, if you read once, you are going to get one idea. If you read the second time, the same verse, your knowledge increases and your concept changes. If you read on the third time, it is going to change. Like this, multiple times you read Samhita, multiple times you are going to increase your knowledge. It is not a one-day process. As long as you are there with this Ayurveda fraternity, as long as you read Samhita daily, you are going to get daily one new ideas or new interpretation. This is the very specific beauty of our Samhitas. So that's why he says, Pramana Anugraha Starko Nyayaha. Means daily you are going to do the interpretation, daily you are going to get a new ideas. So that is called as the Nyaya. Then these are the some of the synonyms of Nyayas. So Nyaya Nayaha, Nitau, Niti Sadhana, Upaya, Yathartha Jnana, Nirnaya and Yukti. Yuktam, Aupaikam, Labhyam, bad even in your Nyayas. For example, Niti Sadhana means it is a way or it is a method to understand a concept. For example, your Kshira Dadi Nyaya. So there, the Kshira and the Dadi are considered as a sadhana or they are considered as a route to understand the concept of the Dhatu Poshana Nyaya. Nirnaya, where you are going to come to a final conclusions. For example, is your Kapinjala Adhikarana Nyaya, where you are going to tell that, yes, here you have to use these drugs only. You have to use Lavana means you have to use this. A final conclusion where it is being done. Upaya, where it is going you to understand what you have to choose when it is biased. For example, in Upaya, you can correlate it with your, interpret with your Govali Vardhana Nyaya. So like this, all these are having their utility. The synonyms are related with the Nyayas, what you are going to study in the next. So the next is, you have a laughing expression, like smiling expression. Along with those expressions, this is what you have two types of Nyaya. That is Laukika Nyaya and Shastriya Nyaya. So what is this Laukika and Shastriya? Laukika Nyaya is nothing but the maxims which are told in day-to-day life. So just now I told you that the maxims called as pen is mightier than sword, actions speak louder than words, all used in any of our Samhitas. Shastriya Nyayas are those which are being taken by the commentators, and moreover these Nyayas are used majority by the commentators. It is not by any of the Mula Granthakara. The commentators have utilized these Nyayas. Nyayas are nothing but the Nyayas which are being borrowed. They are to some extent, they can be considered as Laukika also. But when they are taken and when they are put into the Samhitas, then they become the Shastriya Nyaya. So for example, you have the Arundhati Nyaya. Arundhati Nakshatra Nyaya you have. We don't have a direct reference of this Nyaya in our Samhitas, but the same Samhita, the Arundhati Nyaya is used in Indriya Sthana in different context, where we are not going to, where the commentators have not told it directly, but indirectly they have explained this. So when we will be studying those Nyayas, we will be studying. For example, he starts in the Indriya Sthana, Indriyanika Indriya, and then he goes with the next chapters. So after telling about the Indriya, he goes with the Swapna and all. So here Swapna is being considered later. So there he applies the Arundhati Nakshatra Nyaya. Means first he is going with the bigger and then he is going to identify the smaller. So this is how the Arundhati Nakshatra Nyaya is being implied here, but it is not directly, it is indirectly. But, so that is what Alaukika Nyaya, which is being mentioned here, that time it becomes a Shastriya Nyaya. So wherever in Samhitas you get the Nyayas, those Nyayas are called as Shastriya Nyaya. The Nyayas which you speak up in general, those will be called as the Laukika Nyaya. Then what about the numbers? Yes, we have innumerable Nyayas. You have one Nyaya Shataka book only where 100 maxims are being told. So they are many in number and they are used in day-to-day life. But Shastriya Nyayas are those which are used by commentators to have understand the concepts very easily. So that is the Shastriya Nyayas what is being used. For example, Shastriya Nyayas you find in Brihatrayis, but maximum they are used by the Chakrapani commentary. So when you look into Dridabala or if you look into Arunadatta, Hemadri and all, we have less references, whereas Chakrapani has maximum utilized the Nyayas. In Charaka Samhita itself, you are going to get n number of Nyayas in each and every chapter. So this is the numbers. Now what about the names? Yeah, you have, depending upon this verse, whichever has to be applied, depending upon that, the names have been given. For example, the Kakadanta Pariksha Nyaya is the first Nyaya in Charaka Samhita in the first chapter itself. Gobalivardhana Nyaya second, Gunakshara is the third, then Shringagrihikaya Nyaya, Chatrino Gachanti Nyaya, Kapinjala Adhikarana Nyaya, Shilaputraka Nyaya, like this, n number of Nyayas we are going to study in the future. So this is about the numbers. Then is it necessary to understand or is it useful for you to read these Nyayas? It is there in the syllabus, so we have to read. No, it is not like that. To understand the Samhita, to read the Samhita, you have to know these Nyayas, Tantripti, Tachilya, all the concepts. Why? Because it is being said that usefulness, it's more than you think. Okay, what you think, more than that, the usefulness will be there. So that's why it is whatever Nyayas you are going to understand, you are going to understand the hidden concepts, you are going to understand the Sutra in determining the various diseases to administer the various drugs in a treatment. So this is how the Nyayas have been used. In the future Nyayas, when we will be studying, all these 4 points of usefulness we will be covering at that. To determine the diseases, administer various drugs. The Kapinjala Adhikara Nyaya applies here. So just remember what are the usefulness of these Nyayas. Based upon that, you are going to understand this Nyaya. Okay, so this is the Nyayas. So we'll start with only 2 Nyayas today, that is the Kakadanta Pariksha Nyaya and another is the Gunakshara Nyaya. So what is this Kakadanta Pariksha Nyaya? So the reference you have from Charaka Sutra, first chapter, the first shloka, the commentary of this, that is Athato Dirghan Jiviti Adhyayam Vyakhyasyaamaha Iti Smaha Bhagavan Atrayaha. When the shloka goes over like this, then the Nyaya is also being said here. What is the relevant connection here? So that is, that I'll be explaining later. You have to analyze first what is actually meant by Kakadanta Pariksha. Once you get to know what you mean by this, then you are going to have its interpretation in the particular context. So that is, the first is the Padartha Jnana what you are having, then comes your interpretation. Counting the teeth of crow or examining the teeth of crow. Kaka andre crow, Danta the teeth, and Pariksha, you are going to examine the teeth of a crow. What is the interpretation of this? That is, This is nothing but to know the importance of knowledge. What knowledge? We know that crow doesn't have a teeth, and above that, see, here is a picture where the crow has opened its mouth, but it doesn't have a teeth, isn't it? And upon that, if you say that I'm going to examine the teeth of a crow, then it becomes the foolishness. Means it shows that you don't have a knowledge. Means the importance is of knowledge. Why this is being told in the first beginning itself? Why? Because if you read the commentary, he says that what is about the Charaka Samhita importance, why this is being said, what is Dirghan Jigita Adhyayam Vyakyasya, it is being said for Mano Vak Kaya Doshanam Harte. It is being said for the removal of the Mano Dosha, Vak Dosha and Kaya Dosha. It comprises of Kaya Chikitsa Pradhana Ayurveda Tantram Pranetum Arabdhavan. I am going to start with the Kaya Chikitsa Pradhana Ayurveda Tantra. Here he is going to start this chapter or this Sutra Sthana. तस्मिंश्च श्लोक निदान विमान शारीर इंद्रिय चिकित्सित कल्प सिद्ध स्थानात्म एक अभिधातव्य. It is having all these sthanas. निखिल तंत्र प्रधान अर्थ अभिधेयकतया श्लोक स्थानमेव अग्रे वक्तव्य. I am going to start with the, among all this I am going to start with the shloka sthana because it is having the entire gist of all the other sthanas. Then he says I am going to start this Ayurveda. It is in the Nikhila Tantra Bija Bhuta Hetulinga Aushadarthasya. This Ayurveda is in the Bija form, that is, it is in the form of a Hetulinga Aushada, which I am going to elaborate in the next sthanas. Then he says, Yato Nirabhideya Kachatata Pado Sa Abhidheyeva Nishprayojane Kakadanta Parikshado Prekshavatam Pravrittirna Upalabhyate. So he is telling that without knowing the knowledge or without knowing the basics, if you go to start the Shastra, then you will be like examining the teeth of a crow. So this is the importance of this Kakadanta Pariksha. What is this importance? That importance he says in the form of Anubandha Chatushtaya. Means whenever you are reading a text, there are 4 factors which are very, very important for you to look into. Means, what are those? Those are called as the Anubandha Chatushtaya. These 4 are having an interconnection. You have to look into the Prayo, to the Abhideya, and you have to look into the Sambandha. Means, a text should give you a valid knowledge. It should give you a way for your practice. It should give you a success in your practice. Then only you can refer such textbooks. So that he calls it as a Anubandha Chatushtaya. For example, Prayojana. Why you are reading Charaka Samhita? Why you are reading Sushruta Samhita? What prayojana you get after reading this? What is a prayojana? You are going to get something knowledge. What knowledge you are going to get? By reading the entire Samhita, you are going to achieve the Dhatu Samya Kriya. You will be capable of treating a patient. So that is the prayojana. Then what is the Upaya? Upaya is nothing but here in this textbook, which is going to give you a Dhatu Samya Kriya, it is telling for what reason this Samhita is being written. That is the Upaya. It is going to tell you about the Marga. It is going to tell the Marga of Arogya, Ayush, Moksha, etc. So that he calls it as a Upaya. So here he says that is the Upaya. For example, he is telling you for Dhatu Samya Kriya, what is the role of Dinacharya, what is the role of Ritucharya, what is the role of Patya, what is the role of Apatya. All this he considers it as the Upaya. And Sambandha. Sambandha is what? What is the relation between this Prayojana as well as Upaya? If you follow Dinacharya, if you follow Ritucharya, you are going to have the Arogya. That's why in Ashtanga he says that Hinya Mitta Atimatra, he says Samyak Arogya Eka Karanam. Means Prajnaparada, Parinama and the Kala, he considers Asatmendryata Samyoga, he considers it as the Hina Mitya Ati Yoga as Eka Karana for Anarogya, and the Samyak Yoga of all these 3, he considers it as a Karana for the Arogya. So this is the Sambandha between the Prayojana and the Upaya. And what is Abhideya? Which is going to explain you about the Hetu Linga Aushadha Skandha, that is called as a Abhideya. So when you have this knowledge, the knowledge of all these, then only you are going to become a successful Vaidya. So whenever you are starting the text, you should know about the knowledge. You should know what purpose or what is the purpose of writing this text? Why Madhavan Nidana is being written? Why Sharangadhara Samhita is being written? What is the purpose of writing this text? What knowledge am I going to get by this? All this he considers it as the knowledge what you are going to do. Without this basic idea, without you don't know why Sutrasthana is written and you study all the 30 chapters of Sutrasthana, it becomes your Kakadanta Pariksha because you don't know the basics. You don't know why Vimanasthana is being written. You don't know why Sharirasthana is being written. You don't know why Indriyasthana is being written. Means then it will be considered as examining the teeth of a crow. So the relevant connections will come here only. In all the beginning of the sthanas, if you see, he explains or he defines what is Sutra, what is Nidana, what is Vimana, the Vishesha Mana he says, what is Indriya, what is Chikitsa, what is Siddhi, what is Kalpa. All this he says that it is nothing but the relevant connections which you can interpret with the Kakadanta Pariksha Nyaya. Means whatever you are going for any of the work, you should have the basic knowledge of that. Without the basic knowledge, if you attempt to do any chikitsa or if you attempt to do any basic work, then it is be considered as the Kakadanta Pariksha Nyaya. So this is the second. And the last one is the Guna Kshara Nyaya. So you have the reference in Ashtanga Sutra first chapter in 134th shloka and Ashtanga Sangraha Uttara Tantra 50th chapter 86th shloka. There you have the reference of the Gunakshara Nyaya. So you can craving on the wood and you find after that they have left here. Here there is an insect which is craving and here there is no insect but a design has been made. We feel that the insect has made this design or because of it is because of some yadricha the design has been occurred. So it is not like that. So meaning is the words craved by an insect. We feel that it has written the words and interpretation what you do, there are certain events which occur by chance. Yadricha, Niyati, Kala, Parinama, what Sushruta says in the concept of Sushti Utpatti Krama, here you can find that. He says that Yadricha, some events are going to occur by chance. So here also, purposefully the insect has not done any design, it has been occurred by a chance. So here, by telling about the Charaka Sutra first chapter, he tells that a Vaidya, only who has a knowledge of the Dravya, will have a success in treatment. If he doesn't know how to use that Veshaja, then he is going to lose the name and the fame. But here comes, sometimes what happens, by chance, sometimes he is going to have the success without his knowledge of the Veshaja. That he calls it as a Gunakshara Nyaya. But he says that it is not going to work out all the time. That is, sometimes the success may be there. It doesn't mean that always the success will be there. So always a person should know the value of the Veshaja. He should know the drug action, the drug indication, the drug contraindication, the mode of action, everything he should know. If he doesn't know anything also, sometimes what happens, he will give the medicine and the patient gets cured. It is not because of the medicine, it is because of a chance or it may be some events which have occurred without his knowledge also. So here, this you cannot predict as a success of a Vaidya. A success of Vaidya will be only when he analyzes all these and when he analyzes the dosha, dusha, sambandha and he analyzes the roga and the rogi, then only he is going to get the success. So that relevant connections you are going to get in Charaka Sutra first chapter, all the shlokas 126 to 133, where he is telling the use of a dravya. The dravya, if you use correctly, it acts as a very good medicine, amruta, and if you act wrongly or if you use it wrongly, then it is going to kill the person. But sometimes because of yadricha, it is going to have a good action. And again in Khuddaka Chatushpada, you have this reference where he is going to tell about, in the Charaka Sutra 9th chapter, he is going to tell about the Vaidya Lakshana. What are the Vaidya? Shruta, Paryavadata, Shastram, all those are considered to be the Vaidya Lakshana. If a Vaidya is not having these Lakshanas, then he is considered not to be a Vaidya, he is a Kuvaidya. The same reference you are going to get in the 9th chapter itself, where he is going to tell you about the qualities of a Vaidya, how a Vaidya will be. And the same in Charaka Sutra, Trivida Bhishak, where he is going to tell about the Chatpachara, Siddha Sadhita, Bishak he is going to tell. Then in 30th chapter he is going, 29th chapter he is going to tell about the Pranabhisara and the Pranabhisara and the Pranabhisara Vaidya. So this is how all the Vaidya references have been told based upon the Gunakshara Nyaya. That is, he is telling, if your treatment is not based upon your intellectual power, if it is not based upon your knowledge, then you are not going to achieve a success. But if you have all the lakshanas of a Vaidya, if you have been studied the Shastra, and if you go for a treatment, then you are going to have a successful treatment. So this is the relevance of the Gunakshara Nyaya. So we may think that, for example, at present scenario, there are many quack practitioners. So sometimes their treatment clicks, sometimes it does not. So whenever it clicks, we cannot say that it is because of his knowledge. It is because by chance it has clicked. It may be the disease may have come to a last stage, or disease was curing. At that time, if a patient has gone to the person and if he is cured, then we cannot tell that it is because of the success of a Vaidya. It is Yadricha, or what you call it as a Gunakshara Nyaya. So this is the two Nyayas what we studied today, the Kakadanta Pariksha Nyaya, where your knowledge is very, very important to achieve a success. Sometimes also, if you anytime if you have been succeeded without your knowledge, then it will be like a Gunakshara Nyaya, where you are not going to get the success through your knowledge. It is by a Yadricha Karana. So this is how the Gunakshara Nyaya and Kakadanta Pariksha Nyaya is being told. So this is the first session of your today's Sadvidya Sambhasha on the concept of Nyaya. In the coming series, we will be dealing with the Gobali Vardhana Nyaya, Shringa Grahika Nyaya, and the Chatrino Gachanti Nyaya. Okay. So with this, we will be concluding today's series of Sadvidya Sambhasha. I thank all the people who have attended this series of Sadvidya Sambhasha. Hope to see with more classes in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, sir.